Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. So today's encouragement, I wanted to start off with a question for you all. Are you in God's way? Are you in God's way? If the answer is yes, move over. Get out of God's way. A lot of times when God tells us to do something or when God instructs us to do something, we tend to keep thinking that I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not cute enough, or I'm not eloquent enough, or people going to look at me weird. I'm, me. And we put ourselves in the forefront and God is saying, move over. You are getting in my way and I need to do something in you, through you, with you. And you are just centered on self. And I know this is a place that we all get to many times in our lives as Christians. You know, we do get discouraged. We do feel that we're not good enough. We do feel all these things. But when it gets to the point where it is at the forefront of everything you do, it has not become literally what you fall back on, then it's like, where is God in this situation? Where is God in this whole equation? So whenever we have these feelings coming up or whenever we're in these kind of situations, I do want us to consider three things. One, let's remember that faithful is the one who has called you and he will do it. God is the one who called you. He's the one who gave you the instruction. And so he will equip you with everything that you need to get it done. He is the one who called you. He is the one that will do it. So whenever you're going through these process, just remember that the one who called you is faithful and he alone will do it. The second thing, we have to hold these thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 5 encourages us to hold these thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. Now, I love how the NLT puts it. It says, we destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. We capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. The first part says we destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. You thinking about yourself and your limitations and what you can't do and everything self, me, that is pride. That is a form of pride. I know we don't like to think about it that way, but whenever it becomes self-centered and not God-centered, it is a form of pride. And so that's why I love this translation, because it calls it at the root. And then next it says, we destroy every proud obstacle that keeps people from knowing God. If you know God, that means you know all his capabilities. You know him through and through. You know what he's capable of doing. You know what he does. And so for you to think that I'm not good enough, I'm not strong enough, or whatever it is that your limitations are, you're focusing on that and not who God is, what he's capable of doing, who he is at the core. God our helper, God our provider, God our deliverer. You're not focusing on that. Do you know him to be those things? Do you know him to be those things? Because if you did, then we would not be focusing on the things that are, our shortcomings. And the latter part says, we capture their rebellious thoughts and teach them to obey Christ. So when we think of rebellion or rebellious people, we think of like rah-rah, like rising up against, but rebellion also really means to disobey, to go contrary to who is in authority. If God is an authority and he has instructed you to do something and you're thinking about your shortcomings, and so because of that you're not doing it, that is a form of rebellion. And so I love how this translation puts it, because it really brings it to the forefront. It really digs deep and brings it out from the root and presents it to us in our face that it is a form of pride and it is a form of rebellion whenever we are looking at our shortcomings and not doing what God has called us to do. And so I do want to remind us to hold those thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. The third point is that grace abounds in every season. In 2 Corinthians 9:8, and before that verse, we do see Paul talking about generosity here to a church group, basically encouraging them to be generous. And then he says this, and God is able to make every grace overflow to you, so that in every way, always having everything you need, you may excel in every good work. Now, if you read this verse in context, like I said, he was talking about generosity to a group of people or a church group. And so a lot of times when we think about generosity, when we think about giving, we think of just like, monetary or like gifts and stuff like that. But generosity really applies to even giving your time, giving your talent, giving your gifts, your resources. And so when Paul says that in every season we have everything we need to excel in good work. And so in every season, whatever God has called you to do, whether you think you don't have the right equipment, you think you don't have the right setup to record your video, you think you don't have what it takes, you do in fact have it, because in every season grace abounds. In every season you have what you need and what it takes to do good work. And so I just wanted to come on to remind us that if you are in God's way, move over. Take yourself out of the forefront and put God at the forefront. I know that we don't like to think about it as being prideful or being self-centered when we keep thinking, I can't do this or I'm not good enough. We think it's, noble or somehow humbling. It's really not. It's really preventing you from doing what God has called you to do, to add to the kingdom, to add to the body of Christ. And so I just really wanted to come by to encourage anybody who is going through a season like this. If you're not doing what God has called you to do because of your shortcomings or because you're so focused on that, I hope this gives you some things to really think through and to present before God to help you to put yourself aside and have him be in the driver's seat. All right, catch you guys later.